Chapter 21. The Capture of Robin Hood. "It's stupid," grumbled Little John as he sat beneath a tree with Will Scarlet and Much the miller's son. "What is stupid?" "The idea our master has of going to Nottingham this morning," answered the giant. "He has been many times before," Will Scarlet reminded him. "Yes, but always in disguise. He plans to go to church in Nottingham today without any disguise at all." Robin was a master of disguise. In a secret forest lodge he had all sorts of disguises, which he used when occasion demanded. Most of his changes of clothing were bought from their owners in the forest or along the open roads when needed. Nevertheless, he did not like disguises, and he only used them when he must. Of all times, Little John considered that going boldly into church was one of those when disguise was vital. Yet Robin had told Little John of his intention to go to church without any disguise at all. He had refused, to the further annoyance of his best comrade, to be escorted by anybody, obstinately declaring that he wanted just this once to go alone. "Have you no faith in me, Little John?" he asked. "Do not forget that the sheriff himself promised to leave us unmolested." But even if Robin trusted the sheriff, none of his men could believe that they were to be allowed to come and go as they pleased. However, they could not dissuade Robin from his plan, and on the following Sunday morning he set out early for Nottingham. It so happened that one of the many monks whom Robin had relieved of money bags in the forest attended the church that morning. The monk recognised Robin straight away and sent word to the sheriff. The sheriff knew that if he took no action, there would be questions asked about his loyalty to the king. He could do nothing but send a party of armed men to capture Robin in the church. Besides, was he not now free to seek the outlaw's capture again? Halfway through the service there was a loud commotion at the church door. Robin turned to see a party of the sheriff's men advancing down the aisle towards him. He was on his feet in an instant. "You varlets!" he cried. "Cannot a man go to church in peace?" He fought desperately as the sheriff's men closed in on him. He accounted for a good number before he was dragged down and overpowered through the sheer weight of men against him. "Oh, that I had taken Little John's advice!" he muttered as he found himself a prisoner. He was dragged along to the sheriff's home. Remembering his promise to Robin, the sheriff did not have the courage to face him, and he sent word that the outlaw was to be sent to the most distant dungeon and securely chained hand and foot. The sheriff realised that the king would have to be informed of Robin's capture. That meant that the outlaw would be kept in captivity for some days until the sheriff's messenger could travel to London and return with the king's orders. It was the monk himself who offered to go to Westminster with the news of Robin Hood's capture, and that same day he set out alone on the journey from Nottingham to London. Back in the Greenwood camp, Little John called over to where Much the miller's son was preparing some new arrows. "It is well past the time when our master should be back," he said. "I was thinking the same," replied the other. I'm beginning to feel uneasy about him. I'm going to Nottingham myself," announced the giant. "I shall soon know if anything is wrong." "Wait," said Much the miller's son. "I will come with you." The two men set out along the Nottingham road. Soon they came to the cottage of one of their friends. There they learned of Robin's capture. It was while they were talking to the owner of the cottage that they saw coming along the road from Nottingham the figure of a mounted monk. "Oh, Sir Monk," cried Little John, "is there any more news of the capture of Robin Hood?" The monk, who was at that moment on his way to London to take the news to the king, was happy to think that he could take most of the credit for Robin's capture. "Well," he said, stopping his horse, "the outlaw is captured at last and will meet justice. It was I who first recognized him in the church, and it is I who am taking the news to the King of England for his instructions." "Brave!" cried Little John, "but you must be a brave man indeed to venture on such a journey by yourself. What would you do if you were to meet Robin Hood's band along the road?" "Have no fear," said the monk. "None of his band would know my mission." Little John gave a knowing wink to Much the miller's son. "News travels far and quickly," he reminded the monk. "Would you not prefer me and my friend here to accompany you for a way? It is the least we can do to help you." The monk was grateful for the offer, for he was a little fearful of meeting outlaws on his way. So the monk was accompanied on his journey by Little John and Much the miller's son. They travelled for about a mile, when the road became very lonely and deserted. Much the miller's son whispered to Little John that the time had come to end the monk's journey to London. They rode on for a short distance further. Then they attacked. The monk had no time to wonder what it all meant, for Little John jumped upon his back, dragging him off his horse. He pulled the cowl down over the monk's face and tied him up. Then they escorted him blindfolded through the secret paths of Sherwood Forest to their Greenwood home, where they left him in charge of faithful followers of Robin Hood. End of chapter 21.